Welcome to the Manifesting Millions podcast. I am your host, Rashida McFerrin, and today we are talking about how to rebuild after you've lost everything. I just want to touch base on a really difficult subject because the reality is that the last 4 years for a lot of people have been just really tough times. And in the process of all the stuff that we've had going on with the pandemic, the economy, and prices skyrocketing until they just keep skyrocketing. I remember during the mortgage crisis, I had just had my son. My son was born in June 2008. And I was taking a break from work. And when I came back to work into the market, I went back to work part time for Wells Fargo. And I could just kind of ease myself back into the flow of work because I had been at home with my son for a year. I had saved enough money to be able to sustain us for pretty much a year in case I was in a position where me and his father didn't work out, that I had the financial means to be able to provide. Eventually, I ended up having to go back to work because, at the end of the day, I had a career too. I didn't want to give up my career because I had went to school and spent all this time going to banking school and invested so heavily in my education. And one of the things that came from that period and space of me literally having to start over and rebuild from scratch because, like, the security was there with his other parent until it wasn't. I literally started over. I left. I moved to Charlotte, North Carolina, where I knew absolutely no one, maybe one person. And I built myself and my son and my family from the ground up. And what I have to say about starting over is that you absolutely can do it again, even if stuff doesn't go the way you planned it. And you got to think about it. When I initially left to go to the Carolinas, I was in this frame of mind and reference of the fact that I was going to go get my happily ever after, get married, have my son, and it just didn't work out like that. My happily ever after came crumbling down very quickly, and I had to readjust. And the readjusting was be pretty much putting myself back on a path that I had already been on, just adding my son to it and making it work from there. And I built a very beautiful life from nothing. I just want to be here today to inspire someone. You may not have a single parent journey like I have. You may have lost everything, you and your husband, and had to start over. You may have been in situations where you've tried everything under the sun to make it work, but it just didn't pan out the way you expected. And I'm here to tell you, you will live to live another day. You can absolutely start over if you lose everything. And 9 times out of 10, when you do start over, you end off in a much better position than you were from when you initially thought you had, quote unquote, the world in your hands. I would be lying to you if I said there weren't hard days because there absolutely were. I was in a new city by myself. I was 28 with a new baby. And so, because I am a social butterfly, my first thing is like, well, I need friends. I went online and found a meetup group. Meetup back then at the time was really fresh and new. I found a group of 2008 moms. That's what it was called, the 2008 Moms South Charlotte group. I went and met a bunch of other mothers who had just had babies, just like me, who were looking for friends because none of us knew what we were doing. I still have friends. Maybe they're not close friends, but I still have connections with those women today. And actually, I was telling one of the young ladies that it would be so cool for our kids to get back together now because they're like all 16, 17 years old and they're in high school and they're going into their senior year. I was like, we need a reunion because it was so many different people from so many different backgrounds. And connecting with those women gave me a sense of security. It gave me some friends in a new city, and it gave me some people that I could identify with who were in my situation, even if I was single and they were married. The identity there was we're new moms and we don't know what we're doing and we want to be good moms. And so the commonality was all of us becoming good new mothers together. I found community in that group. And from there, Lincoln made friends. I eventually got to a point that I was ready to go back to work. And when I started, I submitted for a contract with Wells Fargo and took a part time job working 4 hours a night, making $14 an hour. Now, remember, I had just left a private equity fund, a $1.7 million private equity fund in Memphis that I was running by myself. Boss is an understatement when I look back over like my history and all the stuff that I was doing at the time, which goes into that concept of having a millennial reset because I was doing so much at 26, 27. I was in banking school. I was looking for businesses to loan them money so they can fund their businesses to grow. I was pregnant with my son. I was volunteering. Like I was everything to absolutely everyone. And what I think about now is that I really just want to tell myself to just go sit down somewhere because there is enough time, Rashida, for you to do all that you want to do. Even if you're pregnant with the son, even if you do end up being a single parent, there's enough time. And so, rebuilding from that space of nothingness, what I found was my ability to be able to flourish in tough situations is bar none. We've had to start over a few times in our lives. Me knowing how rock bottom felt, it was also a familiar place of me knowing that this is not my ending. The only way to go is up from here. At this point, this is what I choose to do with my life, and I'm going to build my life the way I want to. Period. I just want to go through a few quick points that you may take into consideration while you're rebuilding your life. If tragedy has struck, if trauma has struck, if you're having a resetting period, which I know a lot of people are because these are just tough times. I just want to be an inspiration of hope today in my podcast and share some tips on how to put together some steps and start over from scratch if you are at that point in your life. It's just a point of me letting you know that you absolutely can build again. I will say this, but learn the lessons that are required for you to be able to build again so that you build your stuff on a stable foundation. With that being said, number one, we're going to face the fallout. You're going to accept your situation. You're going to address it. And then you're going to have to feel your way through it. You're going to have to heal. The reality is that we live in a world where people tell you to get over it and suck it up, put the S on your chest and be a superhero. Real talk, that might be good for you, but it ain't for me. Okay? Like sometimes you have to feel through the feelings of what's happening in your life in order for you to process it, in order for you to get over it and move on to whatever's next. That is the reality of it. And so facing it, step one, is the first step for you moving forward and moving ahead. So don't let other people tell you how to deal with the tragic thing that's just happened in your life. You move forward step by step based on how you feel and based on what you think is the right thing in that moment for you and your family or your circle, whoever is being directly affected by what's going on in your life. Number two, let's go back to basics. Sometimes simple is easy. I'm going to go back to when I became a single mother and my son was 2, 3 months old and we moved to Charlotte, North Carolina. I got a 1 bedroom apartment that was $700 a month. And it was enough for both of us at the time. And simple was good, right? It allowed me to get a foundation in place for us to have a place to dwell, for me to launch the second phase of my career, which was at Wells Fargo. We stayed there well over maybe 2 years before we moved into a townhome. Going back to basics, sometimes it's required in order for you to be able to stand firmly on building a better foundation. There's nothing wrong with going back to basics, y'all. It really isn't. It really isn't. And as far as being in America and living the American dream, the concept that we're sold, I challenge people to be like, do you even really need it? Like, once a kid is grown, and maybe one day he'll get married and have kids and I'll have grandkids, I may keep our house for that reason, the one that we have now, but 9 times out of 10, I will have moved into another house. Sometimes going back to basics and living a simple life is the stuff that life is made of. That's number two. Number three, we're going to celebrate any small wins that push us closer to our goals. When you have the fallout moments and the start from scratch moments and the bottom out moments, you have to reset and give yourself new goals so you can have something to work towards. Happiness is having something to look forward to. What is it that you're looking forward to in order to propel you into your future and give you energy to get to the next level? So if you lost everything, okay, what are you doing to put yourself on the path that puts you back to what it is that you want? Or maybe what you lost is not necessarily what you want anymore. It's up to you to decide what happiness is for you and what those goals are for you. But in every instant, you are to celebrate the small wins. I've been learning this so much over the last year and a half since I launched my business, because every little win is like a small push forward to get you to where you're going. And you need that motivation as you're building something, because it takes time. I'm going to say celebrate your small wins. Don't beat up on yourself, because whatever happened, happened. It is what it is. We all go through life lessons, but celebrate your small wins and give yourself a pat on the back when you accomplish something and you move yourself forward, because that's a big deal. Number four, the power of asking for help. I used to have this one bad. Boy, I wouldn't ask nobody for help. I think I've spoken about it in my other podcast episodes, especially like in my corporate career. Like, I had this very DIY, do it yourself mentality. And that is good to a certain point. But the reality is, in order for you to move forward and move up in corporate America, you need a team, and you need to eventually manage team members and coach team members. And so you can't do everything by yourself. That's an illusion. It's complete, absolute fallacy if that is what you're operating on. I get it how people end up being there. Like I said, that has been a big one for me as I've been building my business over this past year. But sometimes you just got to ask for help when you need it. You need support. We all need support. And there's nothing wrong with asking for support in a time of need. There's nothing wrong with you asking for help. It really isn't. Sometimes asking for help can be the bridge that gets you over to keep you from bottoming out. So if I have the choice between asking someone for help and me losing everything and starting over from ground zero, you best believe that I'm going to swallow my pride and suck it up and go ask for help. We've been conditioned to do everything ourselves, and our pride, and put on this projection of perfection to the world. And let me be the first to tell you, there is nothing perfect about living this life. And if you've been living on this earth for however many years you've been alive, you surely know that the last thing that this life is perfection, because it absolutely ain't. There's nothing perfect about life. Will things go right at certain times in your life if you plan accordingly? Yes. Will things go right when you don't expect them to? Yes, we have those moments. I'm hoping everyone have moments in their lives where it's just been good for them, because you need that when you're living life. You just need it. It keeps you going, it keeps you motivated. But perfection is not the stuff that life is made of. Perfectionism will hold you back. And I am speaking because I am the ultimate perfectionist, and I have been healing from my perfectionist attitude. And it's difficult because I was in the military, and the precision of excellence that comes with the background that I have and being in finance and things like that, like, you have no room for error almost. I remember one year in my review with my last employer, my performance had gone down like 3 points. I think it went from like a 95 to like a 92%. And my manager told me that year over year, we like to see those numbers go up instead of decline. See if you can work on that next year. And I was sitting there thinking, like, are you freaking kidding me? I caught myself. I am at a 90% KPI in regards to my performance. And you're sitting up here telling me that I need to work on maintaining perfection? In a year, I might add that I was sick. I had gotten sick from my thyroid that year. So I had to go on leave. Huh. It was just one of those defining moments that I realized like I will come and do my job and show up and give the results that I'm paid for. Absolutely. But what you will not demand from me when I'm already giving you a 90% tile performance is more perfection. Cause yeah, we're not doing that. And I'm not going to allow him to put that pressure on me to make me feel bad about myself because I dropped 3 points in a 90 percentile range. Hello, stop it. No, I really want the next generation to embrace the power of asking for help instead of taking on what the millennials did. We approached life with this I'm gonna get it how I live type mentality, pushed ourselves a million times over. And you know what it did? It burnt us out. I don't know if you've noticed, but by the time I was 37, your girl was burnt completely out, which is why my health started to fade with my thyroid. It was just too much. I was doing too much. I was pushing myself too much. I was pushing my son. It was just too much. And that is when I had to learn to start asking for help because didn't have no choice. I needed help getting my son to school because there were some days I couldn't almost walk up the stairs because I had gotten so weak with my hyperthyroidism. It was bad. If you're stuck in a situation and you know that there's someone that can help you, I know a lot of times we feel like there's no one that can help, but sometimes there are people that can help if we just open our mouth and ask. Sometimes that, like I said, is the determination of whether you hit rock bottom and start from scratch or you're able to maintain what you've already built. Yeah, I was a little more real today. I just want to encourage people as we're going through trying times, as we are trying to transition out of whatever season in life you may be in. I just want to encourage you that tomorrow is another day. Get up, take a step in whatever direction you consider the right direction, and you'll keep moving and you'll eventually get to where you are trying to go. So, as always, you can find me on Rashida.ai. I am Rashida McFerrin and or Rashida.McFerrin across socials. And I do have a $99 masterclass that intros you to crypto, how to invest in crypto, which leads into my bigger containers, which is a 4-week investment class that is self-paced. I do a couple of coaching calls with the self-paced group calls. And then there is the other 4-week container that's more personalized, in touch with me, that I get on with my students who are truly trying to learn how to utilize this asset we call cryptocurrency and how to build wealth for the future. It's all on my website. Check me out. Connect with us if you like what you have heard today. Please feel free to share our episode. We are listed on the Spotify network, Apple network, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and a few other networks. We've gotten busy this year building partnerships for the podcast so we can go to the next level. I hope you are enjoying time with your family as you wrap up this school year because we're coming to the end of the semester. We have finals coming up. I hope everybody is prepared for their finals and they have good grades. And yeah, take a break after next week. Spend some time with your family. As always, until next time, I will see you in the next episode. Bye for now.